Africa in the 19th Century by Atsiri Herrera and Andrea Arregui. Main factors for imperialism. Age of imperialism in Africa. The three major factors that motivated Europe to push imperialism into Africa were economic, political, and social reasons. It all began when slave trade was abolished and the profit went down. Another thing was the growth that the Europeans faced due to their capitalist and industrial revolution. Major factors for colonization. As I've stated before, the main purposes of the Europeans pushing imperialism into Africa was because of economic, political, and social reasons. But for colonization, there was also the religious reason. It all started in 1881 and went on till 1914. During this time, in the 19th century, Europe was facing economic depression due to the Franco-Prussian War that France had faced. In addition to that, the Treaty of Frankfurt forced the country to pay for the war reparation for Germany. In other words, Germany, France, and Great Britain were losing a lot of money. Why was Europe interested in Africa? The Europeans' main interest in Africa was because of their trade route advantage that they had. Since they were so short in money, the Europeans wanted to look for a way to dodge the taxations that the Arab and the Ottoman empires established in their trade routes. Their only salvation was Africa. Even though going around in Africa meant a long journey, they committed to it. Slave trade. In the land, African and the Arabic merchants were in charge of the slave trade. But in 1807, Great Britain abolished the trade of slaves with the Slave Trade Act. This act abolished slave trade in Africa, West Indies, and America. The British began patrolling the coast, and they would intervene with any slave ships from another nation. Effects of the slave trade. In the 19th century, about a third of the slaves exported to the Americas most likely came from Angola. The figure probably represents a relatively small proportion of the total population of a huge area in any one year, but it was a significant proportion of economically active adults. The figure also does not take account of the depopulation and social dislocation resulting from innocence, warfare, and banditry, resulting famine and disease, and the intensification of slavery within African society. The better watered regions may have recouped their population losses within a couple of generations, supported by the introduction of new food crops such as manioc and corn, and also the effects of the slave trade were, in social terms, incalculable. Consequences in the 1800s of Africa colonial rule. Some of the negative impacts that are associated with colonialization include degradation of natural resources, capitalist urbanization, introduction of foreign diseases to livestock and humans, change of the social systems of living. Nevertheless, colonialism too impacted positively on the economies and social systems. Changes in the 1800s of Africa in the colonial times. Forms of government, religions, and languages changed dramatically as colonial powers moved into the region, changes that would have long-term effects for sub-Saharan Africa. And these are the citations.